All right, my name is Steve Kingsland. I'm a developer on the Outbound Platform team. And for Innovation Day, my team worked on a project called Pipedreams. Now you might be wondering what that is, and I didn't realize it at the time, but it's actually a reference to getting high. Pipe dreams were the crazy dreams that the opium smokers back in like the 18th and 19th centuries had. So that's not the pipe dreams that I mean. The pipe there is reference to our outbound pipeline and figuring out a way that we could actually see what's going on in it. So I'm new to the outbound platform team. I just joined this summer. And what I want to know is, what's it doing? Like, show me the communications that are flowing through it. And I think that that would help me get a sense for what the pipeline and the outbound platform actually does. So for Innovation Day, I teamed up with several outbound folks, and we just had a simple goal. We want to visualize, sort of in real time, communications as they're flowing through this pipeline. What is this pipeline? So the challenge was sort of technical in that there's a lot of communications. Some of our outbound pipelines have hundreds of thousands or even a million communications. And so I wasn't even sure if this was possible, and how would you show each individual communication on a single screen, like a web page, for example. But I had an idea. This is an artist's rendering of what this could look like. And so what I thought was, well, we have different sections of the pipe. And what if we just rendered like a pixel or a really small dot for each communication? Our screens have lots of pixels, and maybe we could even color code them by which step in the outbound pipeline they're in and show leaks, and those are failures. For example, we have an eligibility step, and you could show eligibility failures as coming off of one part of the pipeline as like red dots. So that was my idea. I pitched it kind of half seriously to Josh Essex like a month ago, and he's like, yeah, that's cool, but I don't know, and I thought about, well, maybe we could use WebSockets, and I just like throwing around buzzwords because it seemed like a neat idea. Anyway, we actually got something working. It's sort of hacked up, but that's what I'm going to give you a demo of. Alright, cool. So I'll plug in mine. Okay, back to present mode. So credit to Samya for our nice graphic of what a pipe looks like. Okay, so I'm running Chips locally. Chips is an Archmate service which the outbound platform team wrote maybe a year ago or so, and it records communication history. So it seemed like a natural point to build a web app onto, because it already gets a record, a message for each communication that's being sent. As it goes through the outbound pipeline, a message called an execution is posted through RabbitMQ to Chips. So Chips knows about the changing state of all of these communications. And what you're seeing here is, this isn't the first step of the outbound pipeline, but it's the first step that we know communications are in. The first actual step is called setup, and when a communication has finished its setup step successfully, then it sends, the outbound pipeline sends a message to Chips to say, hey, this communication was successful in setup. And that's when this rendering of what's happening to these communications knows that it's in the next step, which is eligibility. So what I did here is I'm running Chips locally with modified code that keeps track in memory of the count of communications that are in each of these steps. And this web browser on Tom's machine is connected to it, and it has a WebSocket open to the server, and the server is streaming down information, an updated map where the key is the step name and the value is the count of communications that are in each step. and it's just pushing that down as soon as it gets updates over a WebSocket to the browser. It also shows the count of each of the communications that are in each of the failure buckets. You can't see this, but it's the word failure written across. That has exactly the same number of characters as we have steps in the outbound pipeline. So that just also credit Samia for that. That just sort of worked out.
Coincidence?
Coincidence? I think not. So anyway, so hopefully what you've seen here is actually Jackie wrote a Ruby client that's able to push test communications if you just create a JSON file to describe the state of the communication in each of these steps. And so that Ruby script is sending that to chips to generate these communications instead of running an actual outbound pipeline, because I can't do that locally because it depends on Bertha and stuff. And so what just happened is that Ruby script was pushing these communications up, and the page was showing them moving through the pipeline. And the ones that got stuck at the bottom are the ones that failed in each of the steps in the outbound pipeline.
Cool. So, any questions for Steve?
Yeah, what did you use to generate the visualization?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention that. We had a team of crack JavaScript developers who didn't really know JavaScript, but somehow they found a way to make it work. Raphael is what we used. We were going to originally go with the more popular kit on the graph, D3, and they tried that. It seemed more complicated than we would have time to get working in just a day. They pivoted at some point to Raphael. They got it working, and so there's a lot of probably frightening JavaScript code to any of you front-end developers or folks who know JavaScript well, but it makes the transitions between each of these steps and from the steps down to the failure happen through keeping track of the difference in state of that map that keeps getting pushed over the WebSocket down to the client.
I will second that it is frightening code. I actually considered during my lightning talk being like intro to JavaScript or like just some how the event loop works or something, so I would never have to see code like that.
Yeah, we were asking Nick for help given his experience with JavaScript, and at one point I had to explain to him why our main method in the browser was called magic. I'm not making this up. We needed a name for it because we did method extraction, and I asked Shang and he said magic. And basically that's a pretty apt name.
So Nick, your lightning talk is going to be about how the code under Steve's lightning talk sucks. It's like a rebuttal.
I was just thinking about how our code sucks, but that was the topic I was considering.